Hey guys, Leslie here, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do a video on Dyson, the Supersonic specifically. So I've been wanting to do dedicated videos on Dyson tools for a while. I don't see a ton of videos from people with afro hair, curly hair, hair like mine basically. Maybe more so with the Supersonic, but less so on the other tools. And I thought, oh, I'll do a video on all the tools, and then I thought actually it'd be better to start with the Supersonic because that's the one I know the most and use the most. Walk through the pros and the cons, and then I'll talk about the other tools in future videos. So for complete transparency, I've worked with Dyson a number of times in the past. So that's why I have the tools, that's why I'm so familiar with them. They have given them to me because I was an ambassador and I did a lot of my work with them on Instagram. They don't know I'm making this video, all views on my own. I mean, all views on my own anyway. So with that, let's get into the Dyson Supersonic. A quick summary first, it retails for $329.99 in the UK. So usually with that, you just get the Supersonic and 5 attachments. There are some colorways where you get a box and other colorways where you have to buy the box separately, and the box is like £60. And that pricing is pretty consistent across any retailer that sells Dyson. They don't tend to do discounts unless it's like Black Friday or something really special, or they might do a special colorway where you might get certain extras, at least in the UK. Pretty small and light. I can hold this very easily as someone that's not got much arm strength. You get a 2.8 meter cord, which I think is quite good. The digital V9 motor is what they talk about the most with this product. They've obviously updated that a lot over the years. The latest version is the V9. So it's a really small and powerful motor, and in simple terms, it just spins really, really fast. And that means it produces a really strong jet of air, and that's what allows you to dry your hair really fast, but also really precisely. They also claim it has intelligent heat control, and so what that means is that the device itself is actually regulating its own heat. If you set it at a temperature, it stays at that temperature, so you're less likely to damage your hair using heat because it's not overheating. So I thought I'd start out with the pros and things I've really liked about this device since using it over the last few years. It is very fast and powerful, so it does deliver on those claims. The jet of air that comes from this device is so strong. So if I was just to wash my hair and let it air dry, it will be wet the whole day and more. Drying my hair with a hairdryer is literally an everyday occurrence, or every day that I'm washing my hair. Old dryers that I've used, and when I've ever had to use a dryer when I'm traveling and I don't have my hairdryer with me, it can take up to an hour to dry my hair. It can take so long. And that's even since I've had hair loss. So I've got less hair on my head and it still takes a long time. But with this dryer, my styling time halved. It takes 30 minutes max, most of the time around 20 to dry my hair. So I really like that about the device, is that it's fast. So the next thing to say would be the customizable settings. Obviously you get this with a lot of hair dryers, but they have free for speed, free for heat. You have the cool shot. With the speed settings, they're really powerful and really fast. So I almost always use the highest setting with the fan speed. With the heat settings, I think they include the cool shot as a heat setting. So you've got 4 settings. The cool shot is 28 degrees Celsius. When thinking about it, that actually doesn't sound cool at all. But it is. So you do have to hold the cool shot down. That's probably the only negative on that. But the switch from the heat to the cool is very quick. As soon as you take the finger off, straight onto the heat again. So it's really good with how well it copes with regulating the heat. With the free heat settings, the lowest is 60 degrees Celsius. So I'm speaking the English way of doing heat. I feel like everywhere else does Fahrenheit, but I'm not actually sure. I don't know the difference. 60 degrees Celsius. And that's quite hot. I feel like that's hot enough for me. I don't usually go beyond the first heat setting. And then with the second heat setting, it's 80 degrees Celsius. And sometimes I will use this, but very rarely. And the hottest is 100 degrees Celsius. It's really hot. I almost never use the hottest one. Obviously, the higher the heat is, the faster your hair will dry. This can dry your hair so quickly, especially if you're using the fastest fan, the fastest heat. So I like that those settings are there and they're available if you want to use them. And then I just love how the heat is regulated so well that it doesn't matter which button I'm on. on, I know that that's the heat that I'm going to get. I just feel like I can use this device regularly and not worry about damaging my hair, and that's what I want in a device, because that's the scary thing about using heat on curly hair, is that you just don't want to damage it. The next biggest pro for me, I think what is so great about this device, is all the attachments that you get with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as standard. They all attach magnetically and they stay on, they're very secure. So even when you're styling, they're not moving or coming off. A lot of brands are still doing either like clip-on attachments, or if they use the magnet isn't strong enough. The attachments that I use the most, the diffuser and the wide tooth comb. So they re-engineered the diffuser not that long ago. I don't think they made any major changes, but they made the teeth prongs slightly longer and it disperses air a bit more evenly now. I've never had any issues with the diffuser though. I really like this. I like how small it is. Even when my hair was bigger, I still found it was really good at this size. Game changer attachment is the wide tooth comb. The most robust wide tooth comb attachment I've ever seen. It has very strong but flexible teeth. I have dropped this so many times. It doesn't break, doesn't even come off the machine. When I used to use older dryers, I used to use picks then. They were just this cheap plastic that got really hot when you put it on the dryer. They would slip off the dryer all the time. They only fit onto certain dryers as well. The teeth would break constantly. This has made blow drying my hair the easiest thing ever, and that's coming from someone who's really not that good with their hair. The flyaway attachment. This is their newest one. Because of the shape of it, the jet of air pulls flyaways down. It's really clever how it works, and I think that's what makes me so excited about Dyson as a company. They put so much effort into every part of their devices. So I think they went through several iterations of this. The whole point was to mimic how stylists, they have like a round brush, they're using the styling concentrator to sort of shape the hair. So they wanted to basically do that with an attachment. And as much as I'm someone with curly hair and I'm not really using this that often, I like that they have this as an offering. They did make the styling concentrator nozzle thinner. The one you get now is super slim. The older ones were much thicker. I don't use this attachment, but if I was going to straighten my hair, if I wanted to get a smooth style, like I was saying with the brush, you could like use this and then a brush to kind of get a blowout. Or if you're styling your hair straight, it's good to smooth. But because of the flyaway attachment, I don't really use this one. And then there's also the gentle drying attachment, which until recently I completely discarded. It's not until I had issues with hair loss, had issues with my scalp, that I realized how useful this was. And it was actually one of the Dyson PR team that told me. This was really helpful when my scalp was at its worst. So yeah, don't discount this one. This one's also really well thought out and well designed, and I never would have thought such a tiny little attachment would have made such a difference. The thought that goes into all the attachments, incredible. I think that's why I love the Dyson Supersonic so much, and I love it so much over other dryers. I just feel like no one's really taking that much care with their attachments the way Dyson is. Pattern Beauty, which is owned by Tracy Ellis Ross, they launched a dryer recently. I haven't tried it. I feel like where Dyson still kind of leads the market is that this is still really compact and easy to use. And with the Pattern Beauty hair dryer, what I've noticed is that it looks quite bulky. And my whole thing with this being so light and so easy to use is that you can get through it even with the attachments on. Even if you're trying to like straighten your hair or something, you can really get in there. If you want to use a separate brush as well, it's not as hard. Moving on to the next pro, I would say that it's fairly quiet. I mean, for a hair dryer, it's not silent, but in comparison to other dryers that I've used, it's not super loud. I can actually have earphones in and still listen to things whilst I'm blow drying my hair. And I even actually went to the labs in the UK. They literally have a whole sound booth and they literally test all the sounds of their devices to make them quieter, which I thought was really cool. I mean, maybe every brand does this, but with Dyson I saw it and I was like, this is really cool. But I thought now would be a good point to jump into cons. So the biggest con or downside, I'm sure no one even needs me to talk about, it's very obvious, the price. $329.99 for a hairdryer is a lot of money. It's got to be one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive dryer out there. The only one that compares on price is the Zuvi one. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that is a very similar looking hairdryer, similar design, but completely different technology.
There's also this one, which I had no idea existed until I was editing this video.
Other hairdryers, just to put it in perspective, that are on the more like high end range are like 200, 250. You never see them reaching past the 300 point. I asked for a discount code for my followers when I was an ambassador. I was told no, they categorically don't do it. So yeah, it's expensive. So their justification for it is that the technology, the research that goes into it, the fact that they're constantly re-engineering these tools is what you're paying for. You're paying for something that you can't get in another device. There isn't really anything that innovative with most other dryers. And the only one I can think of is the Zuvi dryer, and that uses completely different technology. It uses light to dry the hair as far as I'm aware. I've not actually used it, but I do have it. A lot of other tools, they use similar kind of technology. Like I hear a lot about ionic and stuff like that. That's something that's been around for years and years and years. Like even the Shark one, I think they try to do something different with the attachments, but still just not up there with the Dyson, in my opinion. From their perspective is that it should last. So yeah, the initial outlay is quite expensive, but in theory you should have the device for a number of years. I've given my older ones away to people and they've still got them, so they're still working and they're quite old, and no one's ever like said, oh, this is broken, I need to like get it fixed or anything like that. So yeah, so they do last. With the other cons, I did kind of have to search around and really like scrape the barrel of like, what is it that I really don't like about this machine? Because I have curly hair, I use quite buttery products, I use quite oily products, and if you get that on the device, it's very susceptible to staining. So you've probably seen it when I've been holding the dryer around and showing it. The only colourway I've had that doesn't really stain is the silver one. So if they still sell it, and you're like me and you use products that are oily and you're worried about like getting anything on the machine, get the silver one, because that seems to be slightly shinier. It's the slightly shinier finishes that seem to hold up more against like more like greasy products. So I barely use this one, and I knew when I first tried it I was going to ruin it because yeah, there is like a slight mark on it. This one also came with matte black accessories. Of course, matte black, it's gonna stain. It's not gonna look good after a couple of uses. So I kind of reserved this one just for filming, which is ridiculous, I know, but when I used to do a lot of work with Dyson, that made sense. But yeah, this is the one I use day to day, and obviously this one's a lot more beat up because I drop it constantly. So the next con isn't really a con, it's more like I just feel like they could do more with their attachments. Obviously they're really leading the way in my opinion, so I think they could add more that maybe other brands have kind of clocked onto that they haven't yet. For example, they have the wide tooth comb and that's great, but why not do a brush attachment for the Supersonic? Obviously they have the brush attachments for the Air app, and maybe they don't want to double up so the machines are too similar. Other brands are coming with brushes. I mean, I don't know, maybe Dyson developed one and they thought it didn't work as well. I feel like a fine tooth comb attachment would be really good. So shorter teeth, thinner spaced, just literally like a little rat tail comb or something, so it can just get the root a bit better. This can get really in to the root, but not as much as I would like to get it straight when you're straightening. They could just come with more curly first attachments. They do a lot to make hair straight, or a lot for people that already have straight hair, but what they could do is do like a hooded dryer attachment. They could do something really cool with the design, and again like really build on the fact that this dries your hair really fast, just as something else that they could add. Again, this is probably like something that they could expand on more than like a con, maybe just with their colorways. Their colorways are very limited, and when they do something different it doesn't tend to stick around for very long because it's a limited edition. So the Vinca Blue and the Rose one, for example, this was a holiday collection for 2022. I'm surprised they still sell it because usually they're gone quite quickly, and I've never lost any of the attachments or anything like that. But say you wanted to get replacement attachments, ones on this are matte black. You're probably not going to get matte black attachments because they probably only do the standard Dyson grey ones. And actually on that, I would say that as standard, they should include a lot more in the box. It's great that you get all the attachments now. That definitely wasn't a thing before. Before, I think you could only get like 1 or 2 attachments, maybe the diffuser, the styling concentrator, maybe the gentle drying one as well, I'm not sure. But they definitely didn't have that many attachments to begin with. The box could definitely come as standard with most colorways. I don't know why they don't give you a box with all of the colorways, and sometimes they charge extra for the ones with the box, and if you want to buy the box separately, it's £60. If you want the stand, it's £65. If you want the travel bag, it's £40. Like, why are all these things just not coming in the box? Especially when you've paid so much for a dryer, you want it to have a nice box or a nice stand that you can display it or something without having to pay extra for that. So the last thing I could think of is when I'm holding the device, it's very comfortable, but I do often, like, my hands slip up the device and I end up turning the power button on and off whilst I'm using it. It's not the worst thing, it's just something I noticed. Obviously a lot of brands put their buttons here. Maybe because this is quite like a slippy material, they could put like a bit more of a grip in so that your hands stay here instead of slipping up and then turning the power button off. But it's really minor. I had to really rack my brain for that because I was like, what really annoys me when I'm using the device? That's it. So I feel like I've covered as much as I can with that. I really tried to think of every single pro and con. I've probably missed things out, but that was everything I could think of for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Or if you use the device, what are some things that you like about it? What are some things that you don't like about it? I'm always interested in what other people think and how they experience the same thing. The takeaway is that I really love my device, if you couldn't tell. And if anything happened to it, I would go and buy another one tomorrow. Like, I really love using the Dyson Supersonic. It's definitely been a game changer for me as someone who's not very good at doing their hair. It's really nice to have a luxe product that styles curly hair. I'm not worried about damaging my hair. It's a great product, so I will definitely do some more videos talking about other Dyson tools, comparing this also to other tools if you guys want to see that, so let me know. But yeah, sound off in the comments. I will see you all in a new video soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.